So now let's define first what is special needs. In clinical diagnostic and functional development, special needs or additional needs refers to individuals who require assistance for disabilities that may be medical, mental, or psychological. Special needs can range from people with autism, Asperger syndrome, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, blindness, deafness, ADHD, and cystic fibrosis. They can also include cleft lips and missing limbs. The types of special needs vary in severity, and a student with a special need is classified as being a severe case when student's IQ is between 20 and 35. This student typically need assistance in school and have different services provided for them to succeed in a different setting. There are four major types of special needs. Those are physical, developmental, behavioral or emotional, and sensory. Now, let's define first what is developmental disabilities. Developmental disabilities are generally detected early on because mental or physical impairments cause these abilities. Common developmental disabilities are Down syndrome and Fragile X syndrome. Those who have Down syndrome are born with an extra copy of chromosome 21, which affects brain and body development. Fragile X is another development disability that is thought to cause autism in boys. Now let's talk about Down syndrome. What is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is a condition in which a person has an extra chromosome. Chromosomes are small packages of genes in the body. They determine how a baby's body form and function as it grows during pregnancy and after birth. Typically, a baby is born with 46 chromosomes. Babies with Down syndrome have an extra copy of one of these chromosomes. Chromosomes 21. A medical term for having an extra copy of a chromosome is trisomy. Down syndrome is also referred as trisomy 21. This extra copy changes how the baby's body and brain develop, which can cause both mental and physical challenges for the baby. Here are some common physical features of Down syndrome. A flattened face, especially the bridge of the nose, the almond shapes that slant up, a short neck, small ears, a tongue that tends to stick out of the mouth, tiny white spots on the iris colored part of the eye, small hands and feet, a single line across the palm of the hand, small pinky fingers that sometimes curve towards the thumb, poor muscle tone or loose joint, shorter in height as children and adults. Now, let's proceed to the second disability of developmental, which is the autism. So, what is autism? Autism spectrum disorder or ASD is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. People with ASD often have problems with social communication and interaction, and restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests. People with ASD may also have different ways of learning, moving, or paying attention. It is important to note that some people with ASD might also have some of these symptoms. But for people with ASD, these characteristics can make life very challenging. They are having hard time in social communications and interaction skills. Examples of social communications and social interaction characteristics related to ASD can include avoids or does not keep eye contact, does not respond to name by 9 months of age, does not show facial expressions like happy, sad, angry, and surprised by 9 months of age, uses few or no gestures by 12 months of age, for example, does not wave goodbye, does not share interest with others by 15 months of age, for example, shows you an object that they like, does not wait to show you something interesting by 18 months of age, does not notice when others are hurt or upset by 24 months of age. Gastrointestinal issues, for example, constipation, unusual mood or emotional reactions, anxiety, stress, or excessive worry, and lack of fear or more fear than expected. And the last one is dyslexia. What is dyslexia? It is a learning disorder that involves difficulty reading due to the problems identifying speech sounds and learning how they relate to letters and words, also called a reading disability. Dyslexia is a result of individual differences in area of the brain that process language. Signs of dyslexia can be difficult to recognize before your child enters school, but some early clues may indicate a problem. Once your child reaches school, your child's teacher may be the first to notice a problem. Severity varies, but the condition often becomes apparent as a child starts learning to read. Signs that a young child may be at risk of dyslexia include late talking, learning new words slowly, problem forming words correctly such as reversing sounds in words or confusing words that sound alike. Problems remembering or naming letters, numbers, and colors. Difficulty learning nursery rhymes or playing rhyming games. Once your child is in school, dyslexia symptoms may become more apparent, including reading well below the expected level for age, problems processing and understanding what is hearing, difficulty finding the right word or forming answers to questions, and problems remembering the sequence of things. Difficulty seeing and occasionally hearing similarities and differences in letters, and word inability to sound out the pronunciation of an unfamiliar difficulty spelling. Spending an unusually long time completing tasks that involve reading and writing. Avoiding activities that involve reading. Dyslexia signs in teens and adults are a lot like those in children. Some common dyslexia symptoms in teens and adults include difficulty reading, including reading aloud, slow and labor-intensive reading and writing, problems spelling, avoiding activities that involve reading, mispronouncing names or words, or problems retrieving words, and spending an unusually long time completing tasks that is involved reading and writing. Now, let's proceed to the second type of disability, the behavioral or emotional disability. What is disability? Behavioral or emotional disability has many possible characteristics. Many include an inability to build or maintain interpersonal relationships, an inability to learn, and feelings of depression or anxiety. ADD is one common behavioral disability, which includes symptoms of inattentiveness, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Bipolar disorder is a common emotional disability, which includes symptoms of depression, irritability, and distractibility. Now, let's proceed to the first disorder of behavioral or emotional disability, the ADHD. ADHD is one of the most common neurodevelopmental disorders of childhood. It is usually first diagnosed in childhood and often lasts into adulthood. Children with ADHD may have trouble paying attention, controlling impulsive behaviors. They may act without thinking about what the result will be or be overly active. It is normal for children to have trouble focusing and behaving at one time or another. However, children with ADHD do not just grow out of this behavior. The symptoms continue, can be severe, and can cause difficulty at school, at home, or with friends. With ADHD might daydream a lot, forget or lose things a lot, squirm or fidget, talk too much but careless, mistake or take unnecessary risk, have a hard time resisting temptation, having trouble taking turns, or having difficulty getting along with others. Now, let's proceed to the oppositional defiant disorder or ODD. It is a type of behavior disorder. It is mostly diagnosed in childhood. Children with ODD are uncooperative, defiant, and hostile towards peers, parents, teachers, and other authority figures. They are more troubling to others than they are to themselves. ODD is more common in boys than in girls. Children with the following mental health problems are more likely to have ODD. mood or anxiety disorders, conduct disorder, attention deficient or hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. Most symptoms seen in children and teens with ODD also happen at times in other children without it. This is especially true for children around ages 2 or 3 or during the teen years. Many children tend to disobey or go with parents or defy authority. They may often behave this way when they are tired, hungry, or upset. But in children and teens with ODD, these symptoms happen more often. They also interfere with learning and school adjustment. And in some cases, they disrupt the child's relations with others. And the last one is the bipolar disorder. It is formerly called manic depressive illness or manic depression. It is a mental illness that causes unusual shifts in mood, energy, activity, levels, concentration, and the ability to carry out day-to-day tasks. There are 3 types of bipolar disorder: the bipolar 1 and the bipolar 2 disorder, and a cyclothymic disorder. All these 3 types involve clear changes in mood, energy, and activity levels. These modes range from periods of extremely up, elated, irritable, or energized behavior, known as manic episodes, to very down, sad, indifferent, or hopeless period, known as depressive episodes. The severe manic periods are known as hypomanic episodes. People with bipolar disorder experience periods of unusual intense emotion, changes in sleep patterns and activity levels, and uncharacteristic behaviors, often without recognizing their likely harmful or undesirable effects. Symptoms of panic are feeling very up, high, elated, or extremely irritable or touchy, feeling jumpy or worried, more active than usual, racing thoughts, and etc. Symptoms of depressives are feeling very down or sad or anxious, feeling slowed down or restless, talking very slowly, feeling unable to find anything to say, or forgetting a lot, feeling unable to do even simple things, and etc.
Good day everyone, I am Jamalin Pudpud, and for today's video, I will be discussing to you what is the physical and the sensory impairment. The physical and the sensory impairment means having a challenge or a diminished ability of one's body or the 5 senses. The physical impairment may be a loss of function or ability of the body parts or organs. Physical disabilities may also occur as a result of traumatic event such as spinal injury or a brain injury, including strokes. Sensory impairment refer to visual impairments and hearing impairment. Now, let's go to vision impairment. Vision impairment in children and young people is a low incidence, high-impact disability and can take many forms with widely differing implications for a child or a young person's education. The effect of visual problem on a young person's development depends on many factors, including the severity, type of loss, age at which the condition appears, and overall functioning level of the child or a young person. Many children have multiple disabilities also have vision impairments. Wearing glasses which correct vision or having a color vision. Defect alone may not necessarily result in any special educational needs. Children and young people who are born with a vision impairment have very different needs to adults who acquire a sight loss and have different many years of full vision. Significant vision impairment can delay early childhood development and learning, including social communication, mobility, and everyday living skills. Most teaching approaches take vision for granted, so making sure that children or young people with vision difficulties achieve their full educational potential can present significant challenges. In order to understand and address these challenges, the school needs specialist advice from a qualified teacher of children with vision impairment or from the sensory and the physical support service. Hearing impairment can have a significant impact on a child's educational development. In some cases, resulting learning delay to reduce curricular access. This will usually require careful monitoring by schools and the hearing impairment team. Hearing impairment spans range from mild, moderate to severe profound. It can be temporary or permanent. Most students with hearing impairment will have been diagnosed at the preschool stage and will have assessed some level of support from the hearing impairment team and health colleagues. It is possible for some students to acquire hearing loss late in life through accident or illness or a genetic condition.
A significant proportion of students have some degree of hearing difficulty at some time. Temporary hearing loss in the early years is usually caused by the condition known as glue ear, such as hearing losses fluctuate and may be mild to moderate in degree. They can compound other learning difficulty.
Many students with hearing impairment may require some of the following: flexible teaching arrangement, appropriate seating, favorable acoustic conditions, and lighting. Adaptation of the physical environment of the school. Adaptation to the school policies and procedure, access to alternative and augmentative form of communication. Access to amplification system. Access to areas of the curriculum through specialist aids. Equipment. Regular access to specialist support from the hearing team or from the hearing impairment team. Some children and young people require special educational provision because they have a disability which prevent or hinders them from making use of the educational facilities generally provided. This can be age-related and may fluctuate over time. Many children and young people with vision impairment or VI, hearing impairment or HI, or multisensory impairment or MSI will require specialist support and equipment to access their learning or habilitation support. The children and young people with MSI have a combination of vision and hearing difficulties. Information on how to provide service for deaf-blind children and young people is available through the Social Care and Deaf-Blind Children and Adult Guidance published by the Department of Health. What might I see in children with physical sensory needs? It is likely that VI, HI, PD needs will already have been identified with advice available as appropriate. However, the following indicators may signal and met sensory or physical need. Difficulty accessing resources, lack of engagement, poor attention and concentration, or may appear dreamy or distracted, work unfinished, misunderstanding, poor presentation, clumsiness, delayed gross, fine motor skills, social, behavior unusual, ignoring or shouting out, maybe physically when getting resources and etc., unclear speech, frustration, lack of confidence or self-esteem, headaches or anxiety at certain times, poor organizational skills, ongoing continence problems, poor health, self and independence, poor attendance which interferes with retention or learning and general progress, possibly due to medical appointment. And now, here's a question. When would you move to support physical and sensory needs? For me, where there is a lack of adequate progress despite identified and targeted differentiation, or schools should seek to identify pupils making less than expected progress given their age and individual circumstances. As a future teacher, I find it extremely challenging to manage students like this or those who are in this situation. But we must demonstrate genuine concern for them because they need it, and we are the one who can help them to enter the world with purpose. We know that these students are not in a similar situation like to the regular students. So demonstrating concerns and making them feel at home in school will go a long way towards assisting them. Let's do this, future teacher. That's all for today, and I hope you learned something. God bless and thank you for watching.